Hi, I'm Mike Leck, your host for Adventures in Scale Modeling. You're about to see 4 programs from the first season of our series. Each program is designed to be both informative as well as entertaining. These shows will provide new techniques as well as modeling suggestions to benefit both the novice as well as the expert modeler. So sit back and enjoy Adventures in Scale Modeling.
Adventures in Scale Modeling is made possible through funding by the Tester Corporation, manufacturer of hobby products for over 50 years.
I'm Mike Leck, your host for Adventures in Scale Modeling. The Smithsonian Institution is one of the world's most famous museums. There's quite a collection in there. Yet you might be wondering, why would a show on scale modeling be here? Well, join me on our adventure into scale modeling as we learn not only how to build models, but why we build them. Our adventure begins here at the Air and Space Museum of the Smithsonian Institution. Why? Well, because this museum is well known for the extensive use of models in a lot of their exhibits. So, let's go inside and see what we can learn about the how and why of model building beginning here at America's Museum. Many of us have memories of model building, but believe me, once you visited this museum, you'll begin to see model building as a three-dimensional art form. The models on display here are simply incredible, and they're all fine examples of models built with patience, craftsmanship, and pride. Later on in today's show, we're going to meet with Bob Meekish, who's built many models for this museum, and he's going to share with us some expert insight on model building and its use here at the Smithsonian. Museums are rich in culture and in heritage, so let's visit one more before we begin that first model. History and reality are the essence of models. Classics, like this Ford Model C here on display at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, can be very rare. Museums use models for several reasons. The real thing is either too large to display, too rare to possess, or exists only in a photograph or a drawing. Historic automobiles like this one are much too large for our museum exhibit, but they serve well as a prototype for a scale model. Anything can be built as a scale model, and throughout this series, we will see designs and applications of models that might be surprising to you. This museum is fortunate. They have ample space to display all of their cars. We're not so fortunate, and we have to rely entirely on scale models. So, let's go to our museum and begin building our scale model transportation exhibit, starting with the most basic of all vehicles, the automobile. Our Adventures in Scale Modeling transportation exhibit needs many models before it's finally complete. And as we build these models, we're going to be picking up some interesting tips and some skills along the way. Master model builders are going to join us, and they're going to share with us their experience and their special model making tips. In fact, Alan Jones is downstairs in the museum workshop now. Let's go down and meet him and begin building our first model, the Dodge Daytona Turbo. Okay, I've worked my way down into the museum workshop, and I have my apron ready to go. I'm ready to do some model building. With us here in the museum workshop is Alan Jones. Alan's been a model builder for the last 28 years. In fact, Alan's model building career started at the age of 10 when he built his very first model. Alan, I see we have the Dodge Daytona here. Why don't we just get started right away?
That sounds like a good idea to me. We have a very nice work area here that includes a flat workspace where we can lay the parts out on the model and not have to pick them up when we finish our session. We can let it lay here and thereby keep our concentration and finish the model without interruption.
So a work area that's finely defined is very important for us in model building?
Yes, it is. It doesn't matter where, just as long as you have a place.
Okay, well, how important does lighting come into play in the workshop area?
Very, very important. Good light, light that eliminates shadows, will eliminate eye strain. The less eye strain you have when you begin modeling, the less you're going to have when you're an old guy like me. And the longer you're going to be able to build models.
Now that's very important because, you know, I never really considered how important lighting was because we want to build good models, we want to save our eyes. But right now, I really want to get started on this model. So what do we do first?
Oh, I think what we can do is open up the box and see what the model kit looks like.
Hey, that's always an exciting thing to do, is open up the box first and get the model out of there.
As you can see, the kit itself is packaged in plastic that keeps the parts from getting lost.
Now I'm going to rip the bag right open here. Man, this is great. Man, look at all these parts in here. What do we have in here, Alan?
We have all the parts that are going to go into making a Dodge Daytona.
Oh, we got the body.
Body is there, engine, chassis, wheels, tires, the glass for the windshield and the tail, the rear light there is there.
Okay, see, this is
muffler is there.
The instruction sheet. Now, how important is our instruction sheets to us as model builders?
To start off with, it's very important. We need to go through the plans and look either for a list of parts or use the plan itself as a parts listing, because we need to check and see if all of the pieces are here. If you find something missing, it's going to take time to write to the manufacturer and ask them to replace the parts. Most of the manufacturers are real good about that, but it's going to put a dead halt on your model building until you've got all the parts.
So how important is identifying all these parts with the pictures we see on the instruction sheet?
Need to be able to locate every piece. You don't want to put the rear axle into the front steering assembly, so you want to be sure that you know which parts are which and where they go.
So the very first thing that we have to remember is we look at the instruction sheet, we make sure that the parts match up with the pictures on the instruction sheet. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I guess now we could just start tearing these parts apart here and start, right?
Not quite. We would like to wash the parts first.
Well, and I don't fully understand washing the parts. It came in a plastic bag. The parts are nice and fresh. Nice color red, too, by the way.
Well, every manufacturer in the world that makes plastic model kits uses a mold release agent that they spray into their steel molds so that when the parts cool, they will pop right out of the mold. And this mold release agent is something like a grease.
What are you saying? We have like some PAM spray cooking stuff on
this? It's very, very similar to PAM. It prevents the parts from sticking in the molds, and it's all over the model even though you don't see it. Sometimes you can take and smear it a little bit, but it's there, and if it stays on there, when you put glue or paint on, the glue and paint is not going to do what it's supposed to do because of a chemical reaction with that grease.
How do we get rid of it?
We wash it off in the sink.
Okay,
Shall we step over to the sink?
I don't see why not. I didn't know I had a dirty model to begin with. All right, now this is just our basic wash sink here in the museum. You can do this in any sink, correct?
Water and soap does not do any damage to a model, and so we can wash it off wherever you have the opportunity.
Now you say soap, but I see, what are you using there?
Well, this is fantastic spray cleaner. 409 works good. Dawn dishwashing detergent works good. It's just the idea that you're using something to get rid of the grease.
Oh, okay, so let's see what you're going to do.
Okay, we'll just take and spray the part liberally with the soap, and after a few seconds, we can rinse them off.
It doesn't take very long either.
It doesn't take very long. No, the Fantastic in particular is very fast acting.
So this is a very important step because it doesn't take very long, and we're giving our model sort of like a Saturday night bath, so to speak, correct?
Hot water will do the job very, very nicely in terms of getting the model dry quickly, so we use the hot water. Again, doesn't do any damage to the plastic.
Oh, I see that. It's coming clean. Of course, like I said, I didn't know the model was dirty to begin with. This is a very important tip here.
I'll take this one.
Okay, now it doesn't matter how long it stays in there, does it?
No, it can sit in there as long as you want. The idea is to get the grease off.
Now we're going to place it over here because I see you have some other parts here. What did you prepare for us here?
We have our drying table over here, a nice Turkish towel laying, and the idea is to just set the model down and let it air dry. The other parts that you see here are parts that we previously washed so that we could continue our assembly.
Oh, let's do that. Let's just take a few of these parts with us back over to the workbench, and we're just going to go right over there and start building. Sure. Okay. Okay, so now that we keep the work area clean, I think we should put these previously thought clean pieces aside.
That sounds good.
It's important to keep the work area neat?
Sure. Otherwise, you're going to lose pieces.
Oh, that is important. All right, well, so then I guess I can just basically take any of these model parts and just snip it right apart here. And we can start working.
It doesn't quite work that way, I am afraid.
What I do?
You'll notice that in breaking the piece off, I want to show here, that there's damage done to this edge now when the plastic tree, the sprue part of the kit, broke away from the model part. And when you do that kind of damage, it's going to show whether you paint the model or whether you just assemble it without paint, and so that would have to now be put some kind of filler on there and have that finished and smoothed down so that it wouldn't show in the finished model.
Major boo-boo here, huh?
Major boo-boo. All parts from these tree networks, these sprue networks.
What are those? I mean, you say trees and sprues. What are we talking about here when we say trees and sprues?
Okay, that's this network that each of the parts is fixed to, and these are the places where the plastic runs through the mold to fill out the part. And when they take the molds apart, the tree or that plastic network that's on there stays with it and keeps the parts from being lost in shipping. And that, of course, has to be removed when you're constructing the model.
Okay, Alan, it seems like I made a major mistake here, so I'm expecting Alan now. Alan, let's show us exactly what we're supposed to do instead of just ripping these parts apart.
Okay, we want to try and cut the pieces away using one of two tools. We have available our tools laid out just like a doctor would lay them out, so that they're readily at hand and we don't have to stop our model building to go search for a tool. When we get done using the tool, we like to put it back so that it's there when we're done working with that.
Okay, well, let's make a cut here. What are you going to do first?
Okay, we'll start out with a fingernail clipper. This is a real nice tool for removing parts from a tree.
Not very expensive tool either.
Not very expensive. In fact, you probably are not going to have to pay for that tool. You
pick it up laying around the house.
Right in your mother's bathroom drawer. Okay, in going to cut a piece, all we need to do is get the fingernail clipper right behind the part and simply snip, and the part then is removed without any damage to the part at all.
Clever.
If there happens to be a part that is not accessible with the fingernail clipper, it's possible to take a Zona saw, which is called a razor saw.
Now, is that a razor blade? You call it a razor saw?
It's just a thin metal saw blade that has very fine teeth on it and will cut the part away.
Okay, so let's see what you're going to do with it.
So we will take the Zona saw then and we will cut through the piece that doesn't fit the fingernail clipper. And there we have the part separated with no damage to the plastic at all.
I see that. That is really a good tool to have.
Would you like to try it on the
give me
interior
a try
here?
Sure. So I just take the saw and do I go close to the
You can go as close as you want in that instance.
Okay, well, I'm going to give it a saw. And right
and that's
through.
how it separates.
You're right, Alan. It doesn't destroy the plastic at all. Now, once we remove all these parts with our clippers and our saw here, are we ready to build the model?
That's the point where you start assembly.
Well, listen, before we do that, let's take a trip to the Air and Space Museum and the Smithsonian Institution to see how models are used in their museum. We're back here at the Air and Space Museum, and we're going to be speaking with Bob Meekish. He's a senior curator of the Aeronautics Department here at the Air and Space Museum. Bob, welcome to Adventures in Scale Modeling.
Nice to be here, Mike.
Well, Bob, I see that you have so many beautiful models on display here. Why use them? I mean, what are their use here? You have so much nice space here. Why can't you just use the real thing?
Well, our space is pretty well consumed with airplanes already, Mike, so that we can represent the other airplanes that can't come in here. We do use scale models for that purpose.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing in our museum because we don't have the space either. Now, Bob, I see that the models are really beautiful. Do you have professionals that build these things for you?
I like to think that we do. We do not have anyone on staff that we call the professional model builder.